Yo, big dog, just wanted to say a big thank you for feedback, explanation and plan of action and what we're going to be doing moving forward. More than happy with where everything is set out, but with regards to adjustments made, food, peds, everything, I'll continue to do. I'll be back on 10k steps from Monday as planned. As I said, like I feel really good, like I feel really positive. I just want to make sure I'm falling in line with what your expectations are, and even if I wasn't, there isn't absolutely fuck all that I can do about it anyway. It would just be the case where you make adjustments off the back of where the data and where the look and where we are, and we'll just continue to push forward. So I appreciate that's your job, and I'll just shut the fuck up. But yeah, I am happy. I hope I don't sound like a moaning bitch and say like, obviously I'm feeling beat up. Like obviously I'm feeling beat up, but that's only gonna continue. You're not a magician. Fucking hell, you've done this. I think you've done a pretty good job getting me. Pretty good job is an understatement, of getting me to where we are at this very moment in time. As I said, there's been many occasions where I'm sure you could have gone, I'll tell you what, fuck it, let's just throw a little bit of this in there, throw a little bit of that in there. But you haven't, and you've managed to navigate me through this time frame, and by far have me the best I can possibly be. So I'm looking forward to moving forward. Forward. So today and tomorrow on obviously preset food. Monday I'll get stuck in, and then Thursday I will check in. But I appreciate your efforts, especially on the weekend. I know this is work, but still there's got to be some balance. So I appreciate you taking the time, and I will catch up with you on the flip side, motherfucker. Holy shit! We are back for episode 3. This is the most consistent I've ever been with a YouTube series ever, and that's because we've got the man behind the camera who's a joy to be around, just captures all of the magic.
He turns up whether we're ready or not.
Ready or not?
It's 9 a.m. and I'm at your house.
So gang, we're back for episode 3 of the No Surrender series. The series and video log of me winning that really fucking hurt. Really winning my IFBB Classic Physique Pro card. That is the plan. So we're rolling in today. It's a bit of a different one really. Mads is going to be training like an absolute animal, and I'm going to be training like an absolute fairy, because the course of this week has been made up falsely as a deload, which some of you may be aware of, some of you may not be aware of. But again, fantastic insight into the ongoings, or what actually goes into a prep, different phases. Obviously last week we had a leg day. I was in a position where I was in the fucking floor talking about prehab, rehab, mobility work, being able to maximise your session and exercise execution and your performance. Today we're really going to talk about periodisation, how we manage fatigue. As also, I'm on dual weekly check-ins now, which is exciting. I'm still holding in and around 98 kilos. We've got 7 or 8 weeks to go until first show, so I'm still on target. But this week I have had an extra 200 plus grams of carbs every single day, reduction in training volume, which I'll go through a little bit more depth later on, reduction in expenditure, and my weight has held, which is a good sign and indicator that with some compensation of muscular glycogen and fullness, with a reduction in fatigue, we have pretty much fucking nailed it. So I've got Joe to thank for that, and then my amazing adherence levels. But we've just had the plan come through for next week. If you've ever been coached, if you haven't, you won't understand this, but you'll get it, because one day I'm sure if you're a bodybuilding enthusiast, you will be coached by somebody. Thinking bio. But waiting for your changes is like waiting for a fucking ticking time bomb, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Like, it's the most terrifying thing.
Unless it's the other way and you're about to go into a growth phase and you're waiting for your food to come through.
No, I think that's worse.
Which is the position I'm in.
Yeah, but I think that's worse, because you're like, I've worked really hard, I haven't put any weight on this week and I feel really tight, so guaranteed I'm getting an extra 50 grams of carbs. And like, coach messages you and he's like,
carry on.
Yeah, carry on. It's just like, you're a cunt. Anyway, so in terms of what we're going to be doing moving forward this week, or this week coming up, and we will do, actually I'm not going to tell you guys this, because next episode is going to be a full day in the life, so I'm going to talk to you about it then.
I'd still say your changes now. Yeah, I think tell everyone You've done your deload, and now...
Okay, alright. Fucking hell. Behind every great man is a very, very assertive, directive, finger-pointing woman.
People want to know, don't they? People love to know food changes, love to see people suffer.
Okay, alright, sweet.
I
So
think people want to know that you're going to be starving.
I'll give you an idea of where we've been this week, okay? So, information specifically. We'll talk about food, because that's all I really care about right now. That's all I dream about. Protein 254, carbs 230, fats 40, baseline dietary fats. Okay. On Monday, I'll be going from that to 270. So what's that? Half? 50% of carbs taken away.
You said 260 this week.
What?
Carbs.
No. 530 carbs this week.
Mhm. Yeah,
I've had an extra 200 plus grams of carbs.
Yeah,
Not even fucking listening to me.
No, the viewers need to know.
Not even listening to me. Mind your business.
No,
So,
what you said.
guys, anyway, we've got a reduction of 250 grams of carbs coming in next week. We've got an adjustment. Obviously, for some of you, you may know, and I know this is long and drawn out, and I'll fuck off in a minute, but you're going to be here for about half an hour, so strap in. Based on health implications of last year, I haven't had any androgen exposure whatsoever bar HRT. So if you don't know what HRT is, it's hormone replacement therapy. The reason as to why I'm taking hormone replacement therapy, because from a negative deleterious effect perspective, going from high levels of androgen exposure for a number of years and then dropping into what would only be considered as absolutely fucking nothing with zero support actually has huge cardiac risk as well, which is why I say to everyone, if you are assisted, to really consider the ways that you navigate between phases, pushes, pullbacks, recovery phases, etc. Because if you don't consider that, then you could actually be putting yourself in a more unsafe position than if you were to run, let's say, a baseline test between phases, if you're going to continue to stay on. But specifically, I run HRT dose. The reason why I run HRT dose is to keep me within physiological range so I can optimally move forward as a functioning male every single day, otherwise I'd be fucking broken. Obviously training, etc. requires huge amounts of anabolism and metabolic function, and with zero sex hormones, testosterone, estrogen present, it makes it very, very difficult. Okay, this is why you get your bloods done, your health assessments done. But moving forward, I'm going to be pulling out testosterone to be able to modulate my estrogen. Okay, the reason for that is because estrogen naturally will carry a little bit more weight. You'll carry a little bit more weight when your estrogen is high, because naturally estrogen rises when testosterone rises. So even though I'm in physiological range, my estrogen will still be higher as a baseline because my testosterone is higher. Okay, so I'll be pulling out testosterone completely, allowing that to clear, which if you use something like PEDplot, it will actually tell you how much gear you're taking now. If you were to stop, how long it would take to get out of your system, so you can understand, right, if I can get my baseline test down, that will drive and modulate my estrogen down, which will massively adjust the water that I hold from a physique standpoint. It will adjust aesthetic presentation as well. Some of us guys, if you are super physiological, will use things like AIs to do this, but obviously that drives cardiac risk as well. So we won't be doing that. We'll be pulling testosterone out and we'll be replacing that with a DHT to keep that synthetic benefit of having some form of androgen exposure, but keeping androgen load, which is how much testosterone I take every single week, exactly the same, so there's no more risk, but I'm still able to achieve my goals and then stay safe at the same time. So specificity is everything with what we do, guys. That's what I'm doing. I think I'm going to leave it there and then get on to the next slide. Your coach knows everything. So I did all of you will know because all of you follow me on socials, but I did a little day in the life insight into what I eat on a daily basis, or what I'm eating during this refeed period. And Joe's come back to me today, your coach knows everything, don't put anything on social media if you coach, because if you're doing something wrong, not doing something wrong, but if you're not fall in line with what specifically, like, you'll either get a bollocking or you'll just get an adjustment the next time you check in. And it's exactly how I do it as well. Like, I'm like, okay, cool, so I saw on Instagram you fucking did this, you muppet, so we're going to do this instead. But Joe said to me specifically on the voice note, he's just like, so talking about nutrient time in big man, we're going to make sure that certain and it's about balancing sodium potassium levels for maximum muscle glycogen in the body, and being able to uptake glycogen as optimally as possible, which I know. But when I was eating in surplus calories before prep started, I was having salmon and potato pre-workout. Now, being efficient bodybuilder male that I am, I decided I wasn't going to do potato pre-workout because I liked it later on in the day, so I was having salmon and rice instead, and I just flipped them 2 carb meals around. But obviously what you do in off season should transpire and flip over to what you do in prep, providing you're nailing that routine. So Joe's just said to me, make sure you're having your potato pre-workout, and I was just like, okay. What are we having now? On the food subject, what are you eating, Tanky?
I got 80 grams of cereal for me.
Do you want to hide all that quanta drugs on the side? You like laid that out like it's something you can have a conversation about. Fuck's sake.
No one would have noticed that unless you...
They fucking would have.
You deliberately brought that up.
Stephen has got a camera that could see into space. You can see it at my nostrils.
You deliberately brought
See how
that
many
up. So
bogies
everyone
I've eaten
knew that
today.
we had drugs on the side. That's what you did.
I don't have drugs on the side because I don't take drugs, Madeline, so I don't know whose they are.
That's that growing on, isn't it?
Mads is literally gearing up to start her off season.
Looking at my measly bowl of cereal I'm about to eat.
Do you want to give a bit of an insight into female ped usage, like time, about rather than dosage, duration? You got time whilst you're making your oats, or are you a bit busy?
Oh, it depends where to start, really. What do you think people want to know?
I think they want to know what you've done for your last 8 weeks.
Okay, that's a good point. So I'm an assisted female, everyone knows that. I talk about it quite openly, I don't care. I think it's good to talk about it, because no one talks about it. Everyone pretends they're not assisted when they are, and all that does is create problems because people don't share health stories, they don't share side effects, they don't share safe practices, and I think that's bad. So I'll talk about it. So if you've got any questions, pop them below or drop me a DM. Right, that's the first thing. Second thing, you have to do it safely. Now, without going into loads and loads of details, we'll talk about this for ages, but as a female, you will cycle this. Males will run cycles for like 20 weeks, maybe 24. If health assessments are good, you can continue to run a little bit longer. With females, that isn't the case because it's all about duration of exposure and amount of exposure. So the general kind of rule of thumb might be an 8-week exposure to androgens, then an 8-week period of time off, and then maybe an 8-week exposure period again. During that 8 weeks off, it'll take 4 weeks to clear from your system because of the half-life of your androgens, and then you might spend the second 4 weeks of that maybe at a maintenance phase. Maybe we'll use it to do a little bit of a diet cleanup before you then go into your next super physiological push. Now that's your direct androgen load, which might be a DHT derivative, maybe a Masteron or a Primo, sometimes Anavar, but not really ideal. And then during the rest of that time, through your physiological phase, through your clear out phase, and through your push, you will likely run a baseline level of test, just like a male would do, but this is to keep you in a physiological realm. Now, this is a big talking point at the moment in the industry. I've been talking about it loads with Hannah on our podcast. John Jewett's talking about it, everyone's talking about it. And it's a really, really important point to make, is that women need baseline hormonal support just like men do. Men need it to make sure they don't crash. Women need it to make sure that we don't crash, and we keep a hormonal baseline support at all times for health and longevity in the sport when we're going through these push and pull phases, prep and off season. So small little insights to what you might do there. But I'm nearing the end of my maintenance recovery phase, which is the last of my 8 weeks on Sunday. So from Monday, I'm going into my next super physiological push. So I'm holding out for dear life at the end of this little mini cut that I'm on until I can eat a little bit more food and start my next growth phase before prep. So there we go. Do you think that was good enough?
It's a little bit more than what we asked for, wasn't it, team? Fucking hell.
Basically, nuts and bolts of it is Corey's about to start starving on Monday.
Yeah.
And I literally on Monday start eating while I'm growing. Got like opposite ends of the spectrum.
I'm very excited.
I'm already eating more carbohydrates than
Very
you.
excited.
It's good, that, isn't it?
If you have a problem with being able to prep, anyone that tells me that they can't prep their meals efficiently, I'm going to make my pre-workout meal in, what should we say, 60 seconds?
Yeah.
60 seconds, go.
You're not, because I've got scales.
You're gonna have to fucking move. Okay, pineapple, chicken. If you can't, no, I know. If you can't prep your chicken, you're a liar. Slow cooker, shredded chicken, job done. So that's chicken done.
This is my life now.
Alright, definitely. So we've got
That's rude.
rice pre-made. Took 6 minutes to make this. 200 grams of veggies, rice pre-made, 100 grams, chicken. You're going to need a spoon for this unless you're barbaric. Max is going to move in a minute. Thank you. I'm not going to do this. I haven't got enough time. Shit. I'm panicking, Max. Shit. So I have 150 grams of chicken, which is 90 grams weighed. Take that, write that down, don't forget that. Ready? My pre-workout meal is going to be made in, I feel like I've gone over 60 seconds, but who gives a shit? You get the point, guys.
Are you adding on the 10 minutes to cook your rice in the morning? That doesn't count.
No, I'm talking about prepping specifically. 90 grams. Pre-workout meal made. Put it in the microwave. 1 minute, mush up a little bit, another minute, mush up a little bit, ketchup, salt. Pre-workout meal made. No fucking excuse. Where's your excuse? Tell me you can't prep your meals. Go on, tell me.
You can't prep your meals, Paul.
Think you find, Stephen, if you can give me a nod on the camera, you can prep your meals. Pre-workout is 100 grams of rice. If you're worried that I'm not weighing this salt, I don't weigh it because I weigh it in the morning. I weigh it out prior to starting my day and then I just distribute it over the course of my day. So I have 100 grams of rice, 150 grams of chicken, 150 grams of 200 grams of veg, 150 grams of pineapple, and I'm ready to try.
I have to watch us eat this. Then we're going to make our intros. Can't speak.
Primo.
And then we're going to record some promo stuff for our new website. You might not see this on YouTube, but if you watch us on the socials, you'll see it all. Got a new website coming, new community hub with like loads of free downloadable content, videos, calls with us, like a question forums, loads of stuff on there for free. You can sign up. It's going to be good. Anyway, and then we're going to go to the gym, and then you're going to watch us train, and Corey's going to talk you through his deload.
Talk you through periodization, deload, programming, all of that jazz. I look forward to showing you guys the physique actually. I don't think we did post legs last week, because it's never a good time to do posing post-workout. Fully depleted and depleted through the upper body. Nah, but yeah.
Should look quite full today.
Fingers crossed. I'm very much enjoying this opportunity to prep, opportunity to compete. It's been a hot minute. Lots has gone into it. My routine is done. Nailed my routine. Thank you to Mr. Sammy Williams and John Lofthouse. I had them both working with me on it. So that was an experience. Probably two of the best posers in the UK. Best posing coaches in the UK as well. So having their insight is fucking immaculate. Stephen, I'll show you, but it can't go on the YouTube. Alright. For those who can't see him, he's smiling into it. Off we go to the gym. Deload pushes on and explain to you exactly what we're doing, exactly why we're doing it, show you how we're doing it, and then I'm going to do some posing. But All very exciting stuff, guys. Stay tuned. There's going to be no de-icing today because the weather is a little bit more pleasant. Seems that the No Surrender series is making not just an impact on your lives, but the lives of everyone. See you soon.
We're both on push today. Yippee!
I don't feel like I'm on push. I feel like I'm on fuck all.
It's because you are doing.
So my session today is going to be a full deload programmed session which has preset numbers for volume, weight and reps. There's a number of ways that we can do this, and do you know what, I'm going to talk about it right now. First of all, understand that you can't deload without a progression model scheme in place, okay? Periodization isn't something that's specific to bodybuilding. Periodization is something that's been part of sport long before anybody with Excel spreadsheets created it. For example, when I played high level rugby, start pre-season at a certain level of fitness with certain capabilities, and the idea would be that over the course of pre-season we would go from this level of fitness to this level of fitness. It's exactly the same within bodybuilding. So when you set a periodization plan, whether you're going for a cumulative volume and fatigue and you're a reps and reserve type of guy, or you're simply a progressive overload, 1 rep, 1 kilo, 1 set at a time type of guy or girl, understand that there will be an occasion where maximal accumulated fatigue does arise, performance will drop off, recovery capabilities will drop off, adaptive response mechanisms will completely cease, and you'll be in a position where you're tired, where you're no longer hungry, fatigue is rife, and you can't stand the fucking sight of the gym. And that's essentially where I am at this very moment in time. Normally, in a progression phase, I will take an entire week off. In a prep scenario, that isn't very productive, so we're going to take a reduced volume to training approach, where today I'm going to be doing 50% load, 50% volume in sets and 50% reps of what I did the previous week. So it's all set out, so I know that I'm accumulating some mechanical stimulus without putting myself on the floor.
I'm not doing that.
Yay!
We're both on push, slightly different, but my model is progressive overload, so this week I'm looking to progress my numbers, progress my reps with the same movements that I've been doing for the last 4 or 5 weeks since we adjusted my training split due to my knees. And this is probably my last session on this session because my split is going to alter next week, so the last opportunity probably for me to progress in this session. So although we're doing slightly different things, we're going to be training together, but my session is probably going to last a little bit longer than Corey's because it's going to take me a little bit longer to get in and out of what I'm doing.
That just means that I've got more time to pose, doesn't it, guys? The reality is, and I think most importantly, like, this is my last opportunity to refresh in prep. I think with the way that we're going to periodize our percentage rate of loss and target per week up until show day, so this is being timed perfectly with an opportunity to, when we put deloads or pullbacks in prep in, we're going to try and probably time an opportunity where fatigue is at its highest from a training standpoint, dieting fatigue is at its highest, and overall systemic stress is at its highest, so we can probably auto-regulate and adjust output in terms of expenditure, which I have done from 10k to 7k daily. We're going to have a little bit more food to drive adaptive response from metabolic output, so a little bit more food, put a little bit more in, get the body de-stressed and sensitivity to lower calories be higher, which means you can push forward from a rate of loss perspective. And then thirdly, again, pulling back training volume, be in a position where we can wash off that overall systemic fatigue within the body and be able to push us forward on your next phase. So these are massively important, something that I massively advocate with all my clients. And if you pre-plan and have a roadmap to every single phase specific goal of your journey, you'll be in a position where your productivity during any phase, being able to achieve and materialize goals, will actually be so much more effective, right? So let's get into it. Push-ish, here we go.
So I'm still doing 2 upper sessions a week. Reason being, what we need to think about when we're going through like a mini cut, which I am at the moment, before you go through a progression phase, is the difference in volume that you might have. So in a progression phase, I might be training legs 4 times a week, and the volume in those sessions will be quite high. When I've been going through this mini cut, I've been training legs 3 times a week, and instead of the usual 1 upper body session, I've got 2. And the reason being, when I'm in a mini cut, my recovery capabilities are far less than when I'm in a progression phase, because I've got less food and I haven't got anabolic assistance. So it's really important that we manage volume through the different phases that we're in. So I'm still doing 2 upper sessions a week to allow my legs the recovery time that they need. Getting them 4 times a week with the volume I was doing before, I'm just not going to recover from. So it's not going to be very productive in this mini cut. So still doing 2 upper sessions a week, and then that will progress into my progression phase, back down to 1, and my leg sessions will go back up to 4.
This session, for a lot of you, is probably going to look like a bit of a waste of time. And if I'm honest, it doesn't matter what I think, because the reality is, it's all part of the process. I look at this opportunity to come in here, to move through weights, although very, very light, and all very, very unsubstantial. I would consider it as more of a skill acquisition. So staying cognitively in tune, keeping motor unit function in line with what I need, because risk to injury is huge during prep. You're in a position where you can do a lot of damage very, very easily. You're very fragile, you're very sensitive, and coming away from, as I said, my session completely for a week may mean that when I go back into my progression model, although it's not an extensive progression model like you'd see in off season, it will put me in quite a difficult position, and a fragile and sensitive position being that. So being able to come in, stay in tune with the movement patterns that I need to be moving in without putting myself at risk during a fragile state. I know that coming into my sessions next week, I've almost had, and skill acquisition basically just stands for practice. Sometimes in an off-season setting, during that week, if I was going to take a skill acquisition week, it would be maybe do different movement patterns just to stimulate me neurologically. But although it's not massively life-changing movement patterns and weights, etc., it's still an opportunity for me to come in, stay in line and in tune with exactly what I need to be doing. So I'm ready next week for my next push.
I spoke about this at the posing seminar. Go back and watch the YouTube of that if you want. But it's important to have balance. Although it is lower body dominant, it is important to have a strong physique, a strong frame. You want to walk out on stage and you want to dominate. You want to have a good X-frame. You want to have good shape to the upper body. You want your delts and shoulders to be prominent. You want good arms. You want a good taper to your waist through having a good back, through having trained your lats. Now, just because you're maybe wellness or maybe bikini, don't neglect your upper body. So it's important to make sure you program it into your split well, ensure that it's not going to dominate your other body parts, but do make sure that you train it hard, you train it well, you take it to failure through full range of motion. It is going to make a difference to your full package when you do stand on stage, so don't neglect it.
Third working set. So 30s, 50% loads. Last week I did 60 kg for 6 reps. So I've got 3 sets of 30 at 3 reps. Simple as that, really. Yep. I make it sound heavier than it is, but every single rep will be perfect. I wanted to jump on this because I've just had a conversation with one of the boys in the gym, and we're talking about his progression. And listen, obviously the first thing I'll always say is hire me, because I'll be able to take hold. But I'm also not in a position where I'm going to leave anyone out in the cold and let them continue on a path that potentially isn't very productive. So we're talking about his cycle, we're talking about his position, composition wise, etc. He's like, I feel really shit, I feel really watery, I feel lack of motivation. I said, all right, where are we? Food's not in a good place, it's not consistent. All right, so there's your first problem. Then we went on to his cycle. Now, there's a couple of basic practices that we can look to use to ensure that cycle and stack design is optimal. He's running 600 mega tests and 300 mega masts. Now, for some of us listening to this, you'll be like, that needs to change. And straight away, that's what I told him. It does need to change because it's not right. And it's not right because of the milligrams potentially. It's wrong because of the way that it's formulated. Essentially, what we would always look to do is actually have higher DHTs and lower testosterone as a baseline, not the other way around. And the ratio you could work with from that, if you were going to have anything, is like a 1 to 2. So I said, right, what's your exposure at the moment? Your exposure at the moment is 900 milligrams of androgens. Cool. 600 of that is made up of test. You don't need to take 600. And the reality is, what happens to estrogen when testosterone is high? Fucking rises. So what happens when estrogen is high? Water. Extracellular fluid balance is completely off. Right? So we're talking about his composition, we're talking about his motivation. Estrogen's high, so his motivation is shit. Because his patterns from a neurological standpoint is just completely off. We'll also see his aldosterone rise because, again, androgen exposure is high, but not only that, estrogen is very, very high. So to remodulate the cycle, what I've done is I've said, right, let's pull that exposure back. You don't need to be taking 900 milligrams a year at this very moment in time. Pull it back, 600 meg, 300 meg test, 300 meg mass. That's going to modulate his estrogen because it's going to pull his testosterone down, which is essentially going to pull his E2 down as well. It will improve his composition, it will improve his motivation because his hormones are at a more stable base. I've told him to microdose instead of jabbing once or twice a week. You're in a position where providing the message is, guys, you need to know why you're doing things and what you're putting in place and what the repercussions of that's going to be. So within 5 minutes of a conversation, re-established a more productive cycle and stack design, re-established an effective dieting approach to manage throughout the course of his day. He will be in a position in 2 weeks' time, and I said to him, you'll be in better shape, your composition will be better, you'll have less fluid on the body, you'll have more intramuscular fullness because your energy will be better to be able to train, because he trains like shit at the moment because he's not motivated. Problem solved. Think about what you're doing, but not only that, why you're doing it and what you're going to get off the bat. Session is Romeo done, which is good because that means I can eat soon. I'm going to go through some poses. Now, there's been a lot of conversation today in the gym the other day, which I haven't said anything about on socials because, to be honest, I felt a little bit uncomfortable about it. But the other day I was posing in here and a woman came over to me and I asked if I could put my clothes back on because it was making her feel uncomfortable. Perfectly polite request, which obviously I responded to politely as well, and I said, no problem, just give me a second, let me finish what I'm doing. And I'm always super respectful. I appreciate nobody wants to see me in my pants, or potentially nobody wants to see me in my pants in the middle of a fucking gym. So I stand out of the way, do what I need to do, practice my posing and get out of the way. After I said that to her, she then proceeded to complain. She complained to the front of house staff. She then came back over to me and reminded me that I was making her feel uncomfortable. I then told her that she was making me feel uncomfortable. I think it's really difficult, right? This sport is so subjective and people just criticize it so much through lack of understanding. And I explained to her I'm a competitive bodybuilder. I explained to her that I'm not trying to hurt anybody. I'm not trying to ruin her day. But for her to attack me, like, I've never had that. I've had judgmental comments over the course of my life, which we'll all probably face, and that's something we've got to be prepared for. But just stay true to what you're doing, guys, I think, because, like, I'm not going to lie, throughout the course of the week since this happened, there's been comments made to me in the gym about it. They're like, oh, it's fucking ridiculous. and I think it is ridiculous. It still hurts my feelings. Like, regardless of how much of a fucking big hardcore bastard bodybuilder I may come across as, which I'm not, I'm just a fucking nice guy. Like, to be attacked like that, and to be continued to be attacked did hit me a little bit. Especially the fact that I'm fucking X amount of weeks out. Somebody telling me I look like a piece of shit and I make them feel uncomfortable in a pair of pants isn't great for my confidence. So appreciate that, guys. On your journey, you're not always going to be supported. There is going to be some negativity along the way, potentially, depending on how far you take this. But stay true to what you're doing. Stay in your lane. Drown out the noise. And just keep working. Because it's not always going to be pretty. Someone's not always going to be supportive. But providing you're doing what you want to do and you're happy, that's the most important thing. Anyway, let's pose. Feel alright? I feel alright. I fucking feel alright. So here we are. It's happening. That is the end of series 3. I hope you guys are enjoying this. We try and be as creative and as informative and as valuable as we possibly can be. Obviously, if you think we're full of shit, then I'm sure you're probably not even listening to this because you haven't even got here because you've already signed out. But that is push session, deload, recovery and refeed period of prep complete. You've seen every single session that we've done so far. Well, no, you haven't. You've seen a pull session, a push session and a leg session. You haven't seen my other two, but essentially they're push and pull as well. But I'm very, very grateful for all of your support, for all of you watching. This is a very special journey to me. I think prep is always completely special to each and every individual, and everyone goes through their own highs and lows in life, roller coaster life as we call it. But for me specifically, this is something that I genuinely, a year ago, I'm going to start crying. I genuinely a year ago didn't think was going to be possible. We've had moments of PTSD where Mads has panicked, I've panicked of whether this is actually going to be a thing. As a result, completely reshaping my life and how I do it. Obviously I'm a coach, but I'm also an athlete, and being able to split that was always a massive, massive scare factor for me. But it's happening. The clock is ticking down. I'm getting closer, I'm getting better. This is by far, and for you guys who have followed me for a while would probably agree, this is by far the best I've ever looked. I'm very grateful for the circle that I have in my life at the moment. Like Stephen behind the camera, just a fucking joy.
How have I come out to you crying?
But genuinely, like, I'm very, very grateful. It's funny how life goes, but it's all going in the right direction, which is good. I hope you're all enjoying it. Special journey. It's going to be a successful one. I'm winning my fucking pro card. Come this show, game the fuck over. Is there anything you want to say? You don't even know what I've said.
I know, I don't.
Essentially, I've said everything.
Probably can't live up to everything. You just cried, so I feel like it's probably it.
I'm grateful for you all. See you in episode 4.
Yeah, that's it.
Episode 4 is going to be day in the life. I'm going to show you everything that we do every single day.
And it's a very busy one, so I hope Stephen brings his packed lunch.
we feed Stephen. It's just like, there's some asparagus, there's some chicken. He smells shredded.
Our daily life is about 18 to 20 hours long.
Yeah.
So I hope that you're prepared.
We've got check-ins, check-in procedures. We've got posing next week. We've got haircuts. Although there's not much to cut. We've got food. We've got food shopping.
We've got an educational seminar.
We've got an educational seminar we're going to be part of.
Massage.
It's all happening. This is probably the most in-depth prep insight you can get. So stay tuned for next week. But thank you very much for watching.
Tune in.
See you then. No surrender, baby. Peace.